Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and today we're going to take a look at a virtually no-name set of earbuds, which actually are surprisingly good and extremely cheap. Keep watching to find out more. Okay, so in today's video we're taking a look at some wireless earbuds. Yeah, no surprise there, we do that quite often here on Mike's Unboxing. These were sent to us for review by Ugly Bob. Once again, thank you Ugly Bob for sending us these. These at the moment retail, weirdly, for around about £12 in the UK on Amazon. I'll put some links in the video description, you can check them out. They are affiliated links, so we do get a little bit back on that, etc, etc. But anyway, just got to make that clear. Normally these retail for around about £17, so yeah, they're not overly expensive to begin with. And at first I figured, basically, for less than 20 quid, they're going to be trash. So, as usual, go through the usual process and see what they're like. Now, for those of you who don't want to watch the whole video and you just want to click on the link to buy them, do it. Definitely do it. They're worth every single penny. Now, the Amazon reviews, if you take a look at them, they review at the moment around about 4.2 out of 5. Obviously, that may change depending on how many people buy them, etc, etc. But a lot of people are buying them, and there's very, very mixed reviews. And when I say mixed, I mean mixed. They go from either kind of 4 or 5 stars or 1 star. There is a really, really wide disparity between them. So essentially what I can see is, if you get a set that actually work as they're intended to, brilliant, fantastic, they work great and they sound great. The microphone's pretty decent, they've got all the usual features, so USB Type-C charging, up to 4 hours battery life, all that kind of usual stuff which you'd expect from these kind of devices. But if you do get one which hasn't been manufactured particularly well, or maybe has been kicked around by the DPD driver, then yeah, your mileage may vary. Most of the problems that we see occurring in the section, which again we'll put links so you can check them out for yourself, look at the reviews. I always recommend, don't just take my word for it, check out other people's reviews as well, just so you can get a clear and balanced picture. This is purely my opinion. But a lot of people are saying that either the battery life is horrendous, they only last for 30 minutes, or one of them doesn't charge, or they don't pair, etc, etc. All the kind of usual things that we see with these kinds of mass-produced, kind of cheapish devices. So anyway, that's that out of the way. Let's take a look at them. We'll take them out of the box, see what you get. I'll go through my findings with it, and then at the end, well, hell, you can make it your own damn minds. So let's start off the unboxing in the traditional format. So we'll take a look at the packaging, which, yeah, as you can see, isn't particularly elaborate. There's been no expense spared or given to this particular packaging. So it says on there, wireless headset, and the model is the A1. So, well, I suppose at least it's going to appear quite highly in the rankings due to being A and the number 1. That aside, there's very little else. You've got some CE logos and RHS, that sort of stuff on the back. So let's take a look inside, see what we actually get. So first of all, we are greeted with a user manual. And actually, I've got to be honest, the user manual is pretty decent. It's a multi-language affair. And on the first page, we've got English, tells you the appearance, tells you what you get, the packing list, etc, etc. So you can make sure you've got everything that's included. Talks to you about the ear caps, the connections, how to do a factory reset, which is really handy sometimes, how to turn them on, how to turn them off, charging, etc, etc, operational methods, and specifications wise. Specification wise, they don't go into a huge amount of depth. It just talks to you mostly about what the LEDs do on the front. When it comes to actual frequency response of these, it's really difficult for me to tell because obviously I am a slightly older gentleman, so perhaps my hearing for the higher frequencies isn't as good as it should be. But what I can tell from doing some sound tests in the kind of YouTube sound tests you can get, which they go through the frequency scales, they are somewhere in the region of about 20 Hz to around about 18,000 Hz. Maybe possibly higher than that, but well, I can detect it, that's for sure. So anyway, that's enough of that. Let's take a look at the packaging itself. Now, as you can see, the earbuds themselves, I've actually taken them out of the section there. They are charging currently, and the light is off, so that means they are fully charged, so they're ready to go. Looking at the actual case itself, actually really lightweight, looking around about 170 grams all in, with the buds actually inside, so very, very small, very compact. You can quite easily slip these into even the skinniest of jean pockets, no problems at all. You could probably put them into the cone pocket, which is current on a lot of jeans. If you're wondering what that little pocket is for, it's for a cone. Not that I've got a great deal of use for that these days. Anyway, the device itself, you can get these in various colours. So there's 4 colours, I believe. So there is a black, a white, a pale blue, and also a gold one. The gold one, I've got to be honest with you, looks tacky as all hell. The black ones and the white ones look great. The pale blue ones, again, just look like really cheap plastic, which doesn't really do the product justice. These ones are black, as you can probably guess already, and they're finished in the kind of like rubberized texture, so it is like a satin matte finish. somewhat of a fingerprint magnet if you've got slightly greasy hands. If you're wearing these on the beach and you've got suntan lotion on your hands or whatever, yeah, this could get pretty mucky pretty darn quick. But in general use, you can just give them a wipe off, so it's absolutely fine. On the back, you've got a little bit of a silver highlight on there on the hinge itself. And the unit is actually hinged pretty well, and it snaps shut as you expect magnetically, as is extremely common on these type of devices. So yeah, no issues there. When you actually put it in, it starts charging automatically, and give them a little shake. There's a little bit of rattle there, so potentially you could lose connectivity from the actual charging plate to the actual pins themselves. Overall, yeah, I think they've done a pretty good job. A lot of people were saying that they lacked sturdiness, or they didn't feel particularly well constructed. The hinge itself is a little bit on the loose side, I'll be honest, but overall I think it's actually a pretty decent construction. On the bottom, we're greeted by a USB Type-C connection, which is excellent. I really do like to see USB Type-C on these kinds of devices. It takes all the guesswork out. Literally, you plug it in, it doesn't matter which way around it is, it just works. So yeah, that is absolutely excellent, and certainly more favourable than micro USB. The actual charging box itself, as I've probably mentioned already, I'm not sure if I did or not, but you're looking at around about an hour to charge up the actual box itself. Whilst the box is charging, the earbuds themselves will not charge. They do not start charging until you remove the cable, and then they take the power from the actual charging bank itself. So don't expect to leave these with your USB Type-C cable plugged in overnight and for them to be ready to go as soon as you pull the cable out. That isn't how it works. Also as well, one real downside of these is the limited lifespan of the battery. Now I mean that in terms of standby time. Standby time is something around about 48 hours, which, yeah, about 2 days. So if you're not going to use these regularly, they're going to be flat as all hell when you go to use them. So that is definitely a consideration. If you're going to use them daily, I don't think you've got any problems at all. But yeah, for the occasional user, you may be slightly frustrated by the need to actually charge them first before you can actually go out and use them. So that's the charging box out of the way. Let's take a look at the actual buds themselves. Now the buds themselves are actually a really nice little design. When you take them out straight away, they start pairing automatically. If you haven't got them paired or synchronized with a particular device, after about 180 seconds approximately, they will turn themselves off automatically, so saving battery power, all that kind of stuff, which is awesome. Normally when you take them out of the actual box, they do pair automatically with the device, both left and right channel. You can use them separately, so one on one ear, obviously one on the other, but you can't kind of share them in particularly large distances. So if you plan on giving one to your partner or whatever, and them going walking off with it, it isn't going to work particularly well. They do need to be in relatively close proximity when they're used in stereo, but in mono mode, yeah, you can do pretty much what you want with Bluetooth 5.0, which normally gives you up to about 10 meters of radius. If you're using this for a telephone call, that is where the limitations are also. So in headset mode, which is kind of earphones and microphone, the range is normally half. That is because you're splitting the bandwidth of Bluetooth between the microphone and also the earphones. So yeah, it totally makes sense. So longer range calls are not so easy, but if you're just listening, maybe you're out in the garden, mowing the lawn or whatever, you should be absolutely fine. The earbuds themselves, actually quite a nice design. These are, again, a matte black finish to match the box itself. They're very, very lightweight, only a few grams, so almost unnoticeable when you're wearing them. And in fact, actually, when I was doing some testing earlier today, Kath was talking away to me, didn't even realise I had them in, so they are pretty discreet, so that's always a plus point. You have on the side got a touch sensor, so that works in the same way that most of these devices work. So press it once, play pause, press it twice, next track, previous track, etc., depending if it's the left or right one. Press it 3 times, and it brings up Siri, or press and hold to turn them on, turn them off, all those kind of usual stuff. Again, all that is in the instruction manual, and it does actually seem to be relatively intuitive once you get used to using them. Normally, I would put them in and just press and hold the buttons if they've discontinued. So you press and hold for a few seconds, and you get power on. Press and hold them again, and you get power off, that sort of thing. So you can control them individually as well, which is awesome. They do fit really nicely. They're actually surprisingly comfortable. Now, looking at the rest of the equipment you get actually in the box, so we'll quickly go through that. So you get some replacement ear tips or ear cups. So I would actually say with these, it's probably a good idea to actually do a little bit of trial and error with the ear cups. Now, I found with the ones which are included as standard, they sound great, don't get me wrong, they sound absolutely fantastic, but I did find if I put a little bit more pressure onto the actual buds themselves, they sounded much, much better, much richer bass. So do experiment with the ear tips to get that really nice seal in your ear to get that much better sound. The difference is actually pretty phenomenal. They've just said power off because yeah, they're not connected to anything. So also we get a USB Type-C charging cable. Now obviously if you do lose that, you can just use any USB Type-C charging cable, no issues there, so that's really nice. And quite a nice little addition as well. You get a little carry pouch as well, so again, if you want to, you can slip that in there and take it off. Gives it a little bit of extra protection should you be going to the beach or whatever it is. So going back to the buds themselves, so there are stereo microphones, so you have got a mic on each bud, which is excellent. And actually we'll give you some examples of what the microphone sounds like now, both in Windows 10 and also using my iPhone in a telephone conversation with Kath, and we've pre-recorded it on the camera. So I'll adjust the levels so it all equalizes out, and I'll probably put on the screen as well what extra dBs I've given it, just to give you an idea of what the sound quality is like, and also the loudness.
Hi, this is Mike. We're testing the Bluetooth A1 true wireless earbuds. As you can see, hopefully the sound is coming through pretty decent. I'm not expecting a great deal, I've got to be honest with you. These are exceptionally cheap. They sound really good actually listening to music, so it's going to be interesting to see what the audio quality is like, whether we're getting pops, crackles, interference. Now this has been recorded on my Windows 10 PC using Bluetooth 5.0. So obviously, yeah, there is going to be that into the mix as well. I am going to try and record some audio as well from my mobile phone, just to give it a fair crack at it, see how it actually does. Windows 10 isn't particularly well known for Bluetooth working properly at the best of times, and actually there's a video on that, so if you want to check it out, you can check it out on the link, which is here, one of the corners anywhere, so yeah, you can check it out. Anyway, this is the audio test of Windows 10 Bluetooth 5.0 of the wireless A1s. Keep watching, find out more.
Okay, so this is a recording. Actually, where the hell is the actual lens on this thing? Somewhere over there. Anyway, so if I'm not looking at the lens, I do apologise. But anyway, this is an audio test of the wireless earbuds, the ones with virtually no name, as you can possibly see there. These are the A1, and this has been recorded on my iPhone XR using Bluetooth through these earbuds, which actually look and feel very comfortable. So I'm really hoping that they actually sound pretty good to you guys when you're listening back to them, or when you're having a telephone call, that kind of thing. So yeah, anyway, let's get back to the main video and let's see how this actually sounds. So there you go, pretty good. They sound, actually in a telephone call, they sound surprisingly good. I was actually very impressed. So much so that I actually did a little bit of recording as well, using the iPhone's camera, the video mode, and recorded a section as well, and actually it sounded really good. So yeah, the mileage will vary. If you use them in a Windows 10 device, they don't seem to work particularly well. There's a little bit of a pop in there, whether it's to do with kind of Windows' own audio enhancements, trying to remove the loudness or spikes, that kind of thing. Potentially that is the case. Windows 10 is not great for Bluetooth, as we all know. Yeah, there's some links to some videos out there to solve your Windows 10 Bluetooth problems. But I think realistically, for most people, if you're using this with a mobile device, it's going to be absolutely fine, and the sound is fantastic. And actually, again, for telephone calls, surprisingly clear. The buds themselves are charged by, there's metal prongs on the bottom, so that is always a potential failure, because you're going to be picking these up, you're putting your fingers all over those bits, so eventually you're going to get grease or kind of a dirt film over them, which will reduce the battery life. So when you're charging them, make sure you give the metal tabs on the end there a little wipe off, and also they do need to make contact with some little pins which are in the bottom of the case. So again, every now and then, just to make sure you're getting the best charge, use something like a Q-tip or a cotton bud with maybe some alcohol or something on there, just to give those a clean off every now and then. They do tend to be one of the kind of weak points of the charging system. So let's talk about sound quality. Sound quality on these is really good. I was expecting them to be absolutely awful. I've listened to a wide variety of musical instances, bass tracks, and classical, audio only, that sort of stuff, and actually they're really good. I would have liked them to be slightly more open sounding, but again, for around about £15, or as they are at the moment, about £11, you really can't complain. The bass is really nice and powerful. I wouldn't say the mid-range was kind of unusual. Some of these earbuds tend to have like a really inflated either bass or mid-range, which make them sound a little bit phony or a little bit synthetic in sound, but they just actually sound pretty natural. And yeah, I've got no real complaints there. The only thing I would say again is do make sure that you put the ear cups on. Make sure you get ones which fit you properly, and you will get a much better sound quality. So drilling through some of the other specs, again, IPX5 water resistant, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, all the sort of things you'd expect to see from this device. Bluetooth 5.0, so if you're using it with Bluetooth 5.0 devices, it's going to sound much better and you're going to get better range. If you're using it with an older Bluetooth 4.0 or 4.1, then obviously things aren't going to be quite as good. But certainly, I've got no qualms in recommending these whatsoever. For less than £20 here in the UK, it's difficult to say there's anything about them which is a deal breaker. The only thing which I would say to look out for is obviously the actual build quality or the assembly or manufacturer quality. If they work out of the box, you're going to be very, very happy with them. The standby time in the actual charging case is a limitation of the design. So they've obviously not put particularly good charging relays in here. So basically when they're in the actual box and they're fully charged and they're just left there to standby, they are draining. So that isn't a great thing. That is something which really in 2021 should be addressed by now. That shouldn't be a thing. They should have a standby life of kind of a couple of weeks at least. A lot of my other devices have got standby times in excess of a couple of weeks. Quite often I go to some of the older ones and even after a few months they've still got battery charge. So that is definitely something to take into consideration. But ultimately, if you're looking for something which sounds really good, works really well in calls, doesn't cost a fortune, and actually looks pretty decent, then I think these have got a lot to offer. So thanks very much to Ugly Bob for sending us these for review purposes. Yeah, highly recommended. Links will be in the video description. If you've got any comments or questions, feel free to knock yourselves out in the section below. But in the meantime, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.